All right, hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of our Draft Expert Roundtable discussion here, just presented to you by the Hockey Writers. I'm going to be your host for what looks to be maybe our final pre-draft discussion, and as always, I'm joined with our Hockey Writers draft experts, Peter Baracchini, Matthew Zator, and Andrew Forbes. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Doing good.
Good, Greg.
Awesome. Before we get into our fun little discussion today, just want to remind everybody, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, please hit that subscribe or like button. And also, all of our great shows and podcasts are available in audio-only format wherever you get your favorite podcast. So make sure you're following and subscribing there so you don't miss any of our great shows. We got a ton of shows across the board, a lot of team coverage, Toronto Maple Leafs Lives. You may recognize a few faces from there. I hear nothing but good things about that Blackhawk banter show that drops on Tuesdays. So you don't want to miss a thing. Hit follow, subscribe, like, all that good stuff, and you'll be just as informed as the rest of us. So it's gonna be a busy week, isn't it, boys? We got a heck of a ride these next few days. Expansion protection lists are coming out. The expansion draft is Wednesday. Then, of course, our big day, 2 days, Friday, Saturday, the NHL Entry Draft. And then just a couple days after that, free agency starts. So it's a lot of work before we get to enjoy an off season, a short off season. So, of course, as we've gotten together, when you see the four of these beautiful faces, we're talking entry draft. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do a little more fun today, not as serious as before. We're going to do a mock draft. We're going to put our three big gurus, let them put their GM hats on, and we're going to go through the entire first round, pick by pick, and see what our guys think will happen Friday night. And then we'll end with a little fun exercise, and you guys will each make your predictions for the overall top five. So we could see, it'll be fun to check this out, Saturday morning and see how accurate we really were. So we decided our draft order with a very scientific and secret formula before we hit the record button. So Peter's going to get the first pick. Matthew will go second, and then Andrew will go third, and we'll just keep that order as we go through the entire first round. So that means, Peter, you are on the clock with the first overall pick for the Buffalo Sabres. Who is the man that's going to have the most pressure put on him throughout this entire draft class?
So the Buffalo Sabres are going to select Matt Beniers from the University of Michigan.
All right. That is exactly how Brendan, our Buffalo Sabres writer, did on our site-wide mock draft of the first round. So Matty Beniers is off the board, and that means, Matthew, you are up the Seattle Kraken. Who's going number 2?
So for the first pick ever in Seattle Kraken's history, inaugural pick, they're going to Seattle Kraken select Owen Power from the Michigan Wolverines.
All right. Back-to-back Wolverines. I don't know if that's ever happened before with an NCAA team getting the top 2 picks. It's a shame they never got to play in that tournament because they would have been fun to watch. Mm-hmm. And that pick also agrees with our site mock draft. Adam picked our Kraken writer, picked them. So now the Ducks and Mr. Forbes are on the clock. Here's where things may get interesting. Where do you got number 3 going?
Well, I think Anaheim's fortunate enough to take William Eklund from Djurgården's IF with the 3rd overall pick. All
right, that's a good pick. They got some exciting young forwards, and that is our first difference. Mark Sheg picked Dylan Guenther of the Edmonton Oil Kings to go 3rd. So now let's get a little crazy. Back to Peter, 4th. The New Jersey Devils, are they staying in the family or are they going elsewhere?
They are staying in the family, but not the name that you had in mind. The New Jersey Devils are going to select Brandt Clarke from HC Nova Zamkey.
All right, Brandt Clarke. That's a little higher than he went on our mock draft. Alex, our Devils writer, had the Devils taking Luke Hughes to play along with his brother, but there's another Hughes brother he could still possibly get to play with. 5th, Matthew, it's the Columbus Blue Jackets. Our mock draft had them taking Eklund, but he's already off the board. So where are we going here?
Oh, they're fortunate enough to get a really good defenseman. They're going to select Luke Hughes from the USN TDP juniors.
Yeah, Hughes might be the best of the group of the Hughes boys, possibly. I mean, Quinn's pretty darn good, but he's not exactly like Quinn. He's bigger and not as offensive minded, but that's a heck of a pick. Columbus can definitely use a defenseman, especially if they go ahead and trade Seth Jones, which is more of when they trade Seth Jones as opposed to if. All right, top 6 back on the clock. Andrew, Detroit Red Wings, who are they taking?
I'm going to go Detroit Red Wings take Mason McTavish with the 6th overall pick.
All right, that goes in line with our writers mock draft. Devin Little, the Red Wings writer, also went with Mason McTavish. The Red Wings are one of those teams, though, that could go after one of those top goaltending prospects and really get things interesting. But you have them taking the more traditional conservative route and going with a skater as opposed to a goaltender. Speaking of teams that really need a goaltending prospect, we're back to Peter at number 7, the San Jose Sharks. Are they doing it? Are they taking who we all think they're going to take?
You're reading my mind. They're going to do exactly what you think. They're going to take Jesper Wallstedt from Luleå.
Yeah, the number 1 goaltending prospect. That is the first ever Swedish-born goaltender to be taken in the first round of the NHL Entry Draft. People are real high on him. He's the goods. As much as people were high on Askarov last year out of Russia, who the Predators took 11th overall, Wallstedt could possibly be even better. Can't go wrong there. And that's going to take us to number 8. And that's exactly, by the way, who Josh, our Sharks writer, selected in our staff-wide mock draft. Now we go to 8, the Kings. They've been making a lot of noise lately in the past couple of drafts. They got a nice foundation brewing. Who are you adding to that pipeline, Matthew, at number 8 for the Kings?
So they're going to be picking Simon Edvinsson, Swedish defenseman, big guy, really good to start rebuilding their defense. With Doughty getting up there in age.
That's a solid pick. He's a big mobile defenseman. A lot of people compare him to a fellow Swede, Victor Hedman. Our mock draft had Brandt Clarke going to the Kings. Alex Hobson picked him, but he was already off the board in our draft. But definitely defensive-minded first pick. They've got a lot of good centers and forwards. It's time to start building up that back end again in Los Angeles. 9th, the Vancouver Canucks. Forbes, you're going to stick it to Matthew's favorite team, or you're going to give him a good player right here?
No, I think it's surprising that I think he's fallen this far, but the fact that Kent Johnson's still available, good center depth for Vancouver, definitely build some young talent up front. So they're going to go with Kent Johnson, Michigan Wolverines.
That is 3 Wolverines in the first 9 picks. That's pretty good. I guess the rest of the NCAA was probably fortunate they didn't get to play in the tournament last year. Yeah, Johnson's a good pick. Probably the best available player on the board still. You can never go wrong building down the middle. I mean, that's where your success starts. And Kent Johnson definitely is going to be a good one. And he gets to go to Vancouver. They're surely worse places in the world you can get paid to live in. And that takes us to pick number 10. Back to Peter and the Ottawa Senators. They got a lot of directions they can go here. Where do you have your second favorite team, the Senators, picking?
Yeah, second favorite, quote unquote. I'm surprised he's still available. I'm going with the guy that I'm highly talking about, Fabian Lysell from Luleå.
Not a surprise that you, of course, being his future agent, selected him here. But yeah, Lysell is a guy. Yeah, get that finder's fee right now. Yeah, Lysell, you can't go wrong there. Kind of surprised he fell to 10th, but he's a guy that could be one of the wild cards coming into the draft. He can go in the top 5. He can go out of the top 10. It's all going to be part of the unpredictability of this first round. Our mock draft actually had him going 9th to the Canucks, so he fell a draft or a spot here, but he's got a ton of potential, a dynamic forward, played well in, Sweden's top league as a teenager. So hard to fault that pick, and Senators are building themselves a nice little foundation there, much to the chagrin of Pete and Andrew, I'm sure, but they might be a fun team to watch under the tutelage of one Pierre Maguire. I can't believe I said that. 11th, my guys, the Blackhawks. Matthew, be kind. Let's see. What do you got for us here for the Hawks at 11? Technically 12th, but the 11th because the Coyotes got kicked out of the first round.
I'm surprised he's fallen this fall that far. And Dylan Guenther, he's going to get picked by the Chicago Blackhawks. That's fallen a lot more than I thought.
Yeah, that is definitely a surprise. And I did the Blackhawks selection for our site-wide mock draft, and I had them going a little bit out of I wouldn't say a reach, but a little bit of surprise picking goaltender Sebastian Cossa. I think the Blackhawks definitely need a franchise goalie, but if this scenario plays out on Friday and it's Dylan Guenther, I'm not going to be upset in the least. This is a guy that is a top 5, top 3 talent, possibly elite goal scorer. And Lord knows that's what the Blackhawks need. Patrick Kane's not getting any younger. You got the Brinkett there. So bringing in another young winger that can put the puck in the back of the net definitely can help that rebuild process in Chicago. So I want them to get a goaltender. They could get Dylan Guenther. I am not upset in the least. So 12th on the clock, Andrew and the Calgary Flames. Where do you see them going?
The Calgary Flames are going to take Cole Sillinger from the Sioux Falls Stampede of the USHL. Again, center depth. I know there's a lot of rumors swirling about what Calgary's going to do up front. So to add a little bit of talent up front would be a bonus for them.
For sure. Calgary's another one of those teams where, it doesn't matter what position they go, they definitely could use the help. The Hockey Writers draft rather had them taking Simon Edvinsson, but he's long gone in our draft here. Sillinger, he's a guy that jumped over to the USHL to play this season, and he's got the NHL pedigree. His dad Mike played for years, and I think played for every single NHL team in existence during his career, and even a few that didn't even exist at the time. So hopefully Cole isn't as much of a journeyman as his dad was, and more of a star for the Flames, but he's got size and he can definitely score goals from those dirty areas of the ice. So that's a good pick for Calgary. And now we go back to Peter. The Philadelphia Flyers, they've been making some noise here in the last 24 hours. Who are they taking 13th overall?
Funny enough, I picked this guy for the Dallas Stars. I think they're going to go for another center, and they're going to take Chaz Lucius, probably one of the better shots and goal scoring mentalities in this draft.
All right. Yeah, it doesn't obviously center position is something they're focusing on. Colin Newby, our Flyers writer, selected Sillinger for the Flyers in our site-wide mock draft. So same position, different player. Lucius, he's a big kid, a lot of size, and you want that, as we saw in the playoffs every year, you got to have those big guys down low to help you win those tough playoff games. He definitely has that, as you mentioned, great shot. So he's got that offensive game for him and the size. He could be a player that shows up in Philadelphia sooner rather than later when it's all said and done. And that moves us to 14 and back to Matthew, and the Dallas Stars are on the clock.
And Dallas Stars are going to select Matthew Coronato from the Chicago Steel.
All right. That's as much as Peter's going to be Lysell's agent. I think Matthew is going to be Matt. It's going to be the Matt and Matt agency coming up here soon. You've always been high on him. As we just mentioned, Peter selected Lucius in our site-wide draft at that position. Coronato, he's one of those guys that a little bit of a risk there because he's a little undersized, and there's still that bad connection with undersized player in today's NHL. But he's the goods. I've been lucky enough. I've been able to see him play live in person this past year with the Chicago Steel. He's got the talent. There's no doubt about that. Whether he has the durability and can get bigger to compete in the NHL on a nightly basis remains to be seen. But he's a great skater, great vision and passing, good shot. He's got the chance to be a real good one there in Dallas. So 15th, we go to the New York Rangers. They, of course, had the number 1 pick overall. Could they be taking a former teammate of that said former first overall pick here?
I've got them taking Simon Robertsson out of the SHL. I was going to go D here, but I think they've proven that they've got a lot of depth on the back end, and I think Simon Robertson is going to fit in well in that New York Rangers organization.
Yeah, our site draft, Matt Grazel had them taking Zachary Bolduc out of, as I said, the Q. Defense, you can never have too much of it. The Rangers have a pretty good core there. You got Adam Fox, the Norris Trophy winner, who hasn't even scratched the surface of how good he's going to be. Defensive hockey is still the best hockey when it comes to the Stanley Cup playoffs. You can never have too much of that high quality defenseman. That's a solid pick for the Rangers. May not be the flashy headline grabbing player that they want on Broadway, but he's going to get the job done. Little doubt about that. That moves us to the St. Louis Blues at number 16, and back to Peters. Blues have been in the headlines a lot lately. They are going to be looking to replace some goal scoring most likely in this spot, aren't they?
Yeah, they're going to need some goal scoring, but they're 2 really great two-way players right now, and I'm thinking they're going to try and go for a center and go for Xavier Bourgault from the Shawinigan Cataracts.
That's a solid pick. He's another one of those guys that may go right around this spot, may go later in the first round, may even drop into the second round, as I've seen him go all over the boards. It's, with being such a crazy draft, as far as, we've discussed it many times, players because of lack of playing, but our mock draft had Xavier going 31st to the Blue Jackets. So he's definitely going a little higher here, but he is an impact center. There's no doubt about that. He put up big numbers in juniors, and he's got the speed, he's got the pace. He can make that transition to the pro game rather easy. I think so. So that's a solid pick there at 16 for the Blues. By the way, our Stephen Ground, our Blues writer, had them taking Sasa Pastuoff. I think I said that right. I'm going to butcher a lot of these names. So, but that's good old Sasha is who went 16th to the Blues on our site mock draft. 17, the Winnipeg Jets. Matthew on the clock. They are another team that can use some help across the board. Which way you have them going?
I was going to go defense, but going forward, Logan Stankoven from the Kamloops Blazers. Yeah,
that's a guy that's another one of these players that can fall anywhere in this first round, and might be a situation where the Jets go, hey, let's take the best player available as opposed to what we actually need, because they probably need more help on defense. That's what Colton Davies, our Jets writer, thought as he had him taking Carson Kuhlman. You know the guy I'm talking about. I'm not even going to try that. From the AJHL. Yeah, that's who they have him taking, who I'm a big fan of, despite not being able to pronounce his name. But Stankoven, he's got that frame, he's got that compete level that NHL scouts definitely drool over, and could be a force to be reckoned with up there in Winnipeg if everything pans out right for him. Moving on to Andrew, the Nashville Predators, another one of those teams that have been making some moves lately that definitely point towards a rebuild there in Music City. Jeff Middleton, our Predators writer, had them taking Matthew Coronato, but he's been taken by his number one fan already in this draft. So, Mr. Forbes, who is being added to the mix in Nashville?
Well, after trading Ryan Ellis, the Nashville Predators are happy to select Carson Lambos from the Winnipeg Ice of the WHL.
That's a solid pick there. If he's still available at that point on Friday night, I think they'd be thrilled to have that player. When you have your top couple players after your Powers and your Edvinsson and your Clarks, your top three defensemen, Lambos is probably the next best defenseman, the top defenseman out of that next group. He's probably a guy that was, before this season started, was probably considered a top 10 prospect, but he's a good two-way defenseman, has the size, can skate. He has the potential of being a top 4 defenseman in the NHL coming up. So that's a very solid pick for Nashville. They definitely need to focus on that blue line again. For years, they never had anything to worry about defensively, but, through a series of trades and now, as you mentioned, Ryan Ellis off to Philadelphia, they need to start rebuilding that back end. So we are chugging along back to Peter. You seem to be getting all your Canadian buddies. We move to the Edmonton Oilers, not picking first overall for a change. It's 19th with the Oilers. They're always a team that doesn't seem to, no matter what they do, it's not the right move. So what does Ken Holland do after acquiring Duncan Keith just a few days ago? Which direction does he go here?
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting to see how things are going to play out. But given the fact that they do need defense, they don't need an offensive defenseman like in Carson Colemans, but they do need some help on the defensive side of things. So I'm picking Fedor Svechkov from Togliatti, as he can provide a really solid two-way presence and a good complementary piece to both McDavid and Draisaitl.
There you go. That's the name of the game in Edmonton. Everybody says you got to do something that helps your two studs, and that hopefully that can ease some tension up there in Edmonton. I know a lot of people aren't too happy with the way the offseason's gone so far, but we'll see how that pulls off. And that's actually exactly who Eugene Helfrich had selected for the Oilers in our site-wide mock draft. You can again, centers and defensemen, they're prime assets in the NHL today. That's where your games are won and lost. So Edmonton looking to add to their top stars here. Let's see how that pans out. And then we're going to move on to number 20, the Boston Bruins, picking a little higher than they've been used to. Who, Matthew, do you see heading to Boston? Is there another team that's kind of got some aging stars that probably won't be there in the next couple of years? How do they look to retool?
The Boston Bruins are going to select Atu Ratti from Karpat, the Liga. Another guy has dropped a lot since last year.
For sure. He was a guy that last summer we were talking could be the number one overall pick of this draft. He was in that conversation. He's definitely fallen a little bit, but not necessarily to his fault. He was playing in Finland's top professional league against, grown men professionals. So a lot of, as a teenager, it's hard to really impress there. So I think the Bruins are going to be very happy with what they get here, getting a potential top 5 pick at number 20. And that's exactly who Eugene picked in our site mock draft 2 for the Bruins. And out of the top 20, 21st, Andrew, it's the Minnesota Wild. Wild. They are definitely making things happen, whether it's the right moves or the wrong moves. They have been in the news a lot lately. Who are they looking to add to their now all of a sudden roster that has a few extra spaces open?
Yeah, with the Kaprizov saga continuing, I think they're going to steer clear of a Russian player this time around. And I think we're going to go with Brennan Othman from the Flint Firebirds.
The exact opposite of a Russian player right there. Our site mock draft Peter, you had them taking Isaac Rosen from Sweden. Yeah, solid pick there. The Wild are a team that definitely can use. I mean, they had a nice run. They took Vegas to that 7th game this year. They've got some nice young players, but they're also a team that has a lot of veteran presence, and Bill Guerin's trying to put his, make it his team, and he's definitely starting that. He's erasing a lot of the old regime's former moves. So we'll see what happens there. We'll be hearing again from the Wild here very shortly, but we're going to move on to 22nd. It's the Detroit Red Wings back on the clock. Back to Peter. We had them on the clock. They have Mason McTavish already added to their pipeline. Who's their second first-round pick here at 22?
Their second first-round pick is going to be Francesco Pinelli, center from Jesper, Slovenia.
All right, that's a name that has definitely gained some attention here this season. A guy that's kind of rose through the ranks. We had him going in our site-wide mock draft. We had him going 29th. Yeah, another center. You can't go wrong with centers. Detroit now has added 2 good young forwards to their roster. Our mock draft at 22nd, again, it was Devin Little doing the Detroit GM for that, and he had Carson Lambos, who's already off the board here for our draft. So Detroit loading up front, looking to, as Steve Yzerman is looking to recapture the magic in Detroit that he did with building up that juggernaut down in Tampa Bay that might be missing a few faces before this week is all said and done. All right, 23. Speaking of Florida, we're going to stick in the Sunshine State. Matthew, the Panthers, a good regular season this year, kind of disappointing in the playoffs. They got a nice little core there. Who they adding to at number 23?
Go defense and select Scott Morrow from Shattuck St. Mary's.
Pierre Maguire's favorite program in the history of hockey. Our mock draft at 23, we had Colby Guy take Logan Stankoven for the Panthers. Of course, he's already been selected here. Panthers going for more defense, no doubt about that. You can, as they showed in that series against Tampa, they could have used a little more defense there. He's one of the more overall skilled defensemen available in the draft. He's not getting as much hype as some of the big names at the top of the board. But he's a right-handed defenseman. Those are like gold. So he definitely is more of a long-term project, but, Panthers feel they have time and he can turn out to be, a top 4 defenseman for sure. If everything goes right there down in Florida. And moving right along to number 24, it's the Blue Jackets back on the clock with the pick they got from the Toronto Maple Leafs in the Foligno deal. Oh, shaking your head. How are the Blue Jackets going to make that trade sting even more in Toronto? Who are they taking here?
I think just the familiarity of Finnish players with their GM. I think Samu Tuomaala from Karpat of the Liga will go to the Columbus Blue Jackets.
That's exactly who our Blue Jackets beat reporter Mark Shake had them taking. It makes all the sense in the world. You've got the Finnish connection there. Another defenseman off the board. This guy, though, he's got a heck of a shot. He's heralded as a sniper and is a very good skater. And they definitely need some speed and some skill in their lineup so that he is going to fit right in. That's 2 defensemen in the first round, I believe, now for the Blue Jackets. So for those Blue Jackets fans who are worried about what are they going to do without Seth Jones, they're already trying to solve that problem here with 2 more young defensemen added to the mix. Back to Peter at 25, and it is the Minnesota Wild back on the clock. This is a pick they got from the Pittsburgh Penguins. And who are they grabbing here?
I initially had Jack Peart for this pick in our actual THW mock draft. But given how we don't know how the Kaprizov situation is going to unfold, I think they're going to bolster their wing and get Sasha Pastujov.
All right, that's a player that we had going much higher in our site mock draft. In fact, we mentioned earlier he was picked by Steven to go to the Blues at 16. This would be a good pick there. Another winger. He can play on both sides. He's a dynamic offensive player who can both pass, set up his teammates, and shoot the puck as well. So, Minnesota, they've been a team traditionally who has struggled to put the puck in the net. They landed their dynamic Calder-winning player last year, and who knows how that's going to add up. So another hopeful scoring threat added to the mix for Wild fans. We're almost there. 26, Matthew. We have the Carolina Hurricanes on the clock. Everybody's favorite bunch of jerks. Who are they taking?
And the Carolina Hurricanes going to select Isaac Rosen from Lex Sands.
All right. That's a solid pick for the Hurricanes. They definitely have been a team that's been heralded for drafting well and having a lot of prospects in their system. That's not necessarily the case anymore, with a lot of those players either graduating and now full-time NHL players, or they've made a few deals over the past couple of years. There's probably one defenseman they wish they never traded away, but that's a discussion for another day. That'd be a nice pick. As someone who covers their AHL affiliate here in Chicago, I wouldn't mind seeing him playing with the Wolves here in another year or two. That'd be fun to watch. 27th, Andrew, it's the Colorado Avalanche. Their team, one of the best teams this past season. They're a team that's just seems to be so close to that Stanley Cup that everybody's chasing. Who are they adding to their pipeline at number 27?
So I think Colorado will go with Oscar Olsson from HV71 of the SHL. All right. Another Swede going to Colorado. They've had some success drafting out of that country in the past. No doubt about that. Olsson and our site-wide draft actually went the next pick. So pretty much on target there. He's a player that had 20 total goals between all three levels of Swedish hockey last year. So he's definitely a guy who can find the back of the net. Very good skater, versatile, can play both on the left and right side, which, is such an underrated tool for especially young players. If you can be versatile and you succeed in different positions, that only increases your chance at success. So solid pick by the Avalanche, adding another dynamic forward to their group of already dynamic forwards. Let's see how that pans out for them. And we're back to Peter, 28. The New Jersey Devils back on the clock. We already have them picking earlier, and they add this pick through the Kyle Palmieri trade with the Islanders. And who are they investing here at 28?
Bit of a risk given his suspension history, but they're going to take Zachary Leroux from the Halifax Mooseheads.
There you go. As you said, could be a risky pick, but when it's your second pick of the first round, why not go for it? We actually had Leroux going 26 to the Hurricanes in our mock draft. He's a big kid, plays that bruiser type of game, that agitator style of hockey, but has some serious offensive potential too. So he's got that old school power forward kind of makeup going. But again, you never know. He needs to reel in that discipline a little bit if he wants to make it all the way to the pros. But that's definitely a high risk, high reward type of pick. Now we're going to go 29th, the home stretch. It's the Vegas Golden Knights. They've already been active this offseason. They're a team that wants to make some changes to take that next step after another disappointing exit in the playoffs. Matthew, where do you have the Knights going here at 29?
I guess Golden Knights are going to select goaltender Sebastian Cossa.
There we go. Yeah, a good pick. I'm a big fan of Cossa. I'll probably be his agent one day if we're doing that. I picked Cossa at 11th with the Hawks just because I felt that was the biggest need for the Hawks. The Knights, some may think they go center here, especially since they just traded Cody Glass but Marc-Andre Fleury, tail end of his career, might not even be. He's been the speculation of trade rumors. Robin Leonard, solid goaltender. He's not getting any younger. So you get 2 or 3 more years out of Leonard, see where you are with Cossa. Could be the goaltender of the future. I'm a big fan. He dominated the WHL this year. Big kid, 6'6", takes away a lot of the net. Athletic for a kid that size. And when it's all said and done, there's a lot of people that think Cossa might have the better NHL career than Wallstedt. So we'll see what happens. But the Golden Knights, I think, got themselves their future franchise goalie right there at number 29. Now we move to our final 2 picks, our Stanley Cup final competitors. 30th, a team nobody expected to pick at the 30th slot, the Montreal Canadiens. It didn't take long. Marc Bergevin, the Stanley Cup final's over. The run is over. He's already in future mode. What's he going here at number 30?
Well, I think they're a team that has needs across the board. So I'm going to go with Matthew Samoskevich from the Chicago Steel of the USHL.
That's a good pick for them. Our mock draft had Scott Moore, the defenseman who we talked about earlier, going to them. Hattie K picked him. Sam is another. He's another player that I got to see with the Chicago Steel. He's got that. Got a little bit more size, plays with a little more toughness. He's a good fit there. Plus, maybe one day he'll get to play with his teammate, Sean Farrell, who lit it up in the USHL. So that could be a little fun to watch, as those 2 former teammates could possibly be teammates in the AHL. But he definitely has that pedigree to play in that he's got that NHL player feel to him. He's go anywhere on the ice, can score from anywhere. Tough player. That's a good pick. A lot of mock drafts have him going, somewhere in the 2nd round. So maybe a tad bit of a reach, but based on need, it could be the perfect fit for Montreal. And I misspoke earlier. Of course, this should be where the Tampa Bay Lightning pick, but they don't have a 1st round pick, something they don't do a lot these days. It's back to the Blue Jackets. They are this year's version of the Ottawa Senators with all the 1st round picks. And we're back to Peter for our final pick of the 1st round, 31st. Blue Jackets, we've already got them adding 2 defensemen. They got to go forward here, right?
They are going forward, and he's one of the guys that I'm thinking that can possibly jump into the 1st round from the Omaha Lancers, Ayrton Martino.
All right. That's going to be a pick that if that's how it goes, there's going to be a lot of people in Columbus going, who? But, not a guy that you probably heard a lot about, but, he's, again, the USHL has been a real good league the last couple of years and producing quite a bit of NHL talent. So they load up with 2 really good high-end young defensemen and then follow it up with a solid forward who can definitely turn out, his ceiling somewhere, probably like a middle 6 forward, definitely could be a contributor. A couple surprises there at the end, a couple guys that a lot are pegging for the 2nd round, jumping up in the 1st round. So that's wraps up how our 3 experts feel the 1st round is going to go. Who knows? It's going to be fun, as I said, to watch this Saturday morning and see how close we really were. But a lot of balls are in the air, a lot of gears are in motion here. The chances are teams that we picked here aren't even going to pick where we had them. We're picking the 1st round. There's going to be a lot of action here in the next few days, which is going to be fun and stressful for us hockey writers. There's gonna be a lot of deleting and rewriting and deleting and rewriting, and holy crap, I just finished one piece, now I gotta do another one. These are the weeks I think we live for. They're a lot of fun. Once again, don't forget, if you want to check out our site-wide mock draft, that is over at thehockeywriters.com. We did a site-wide mock draft for the first round and second round as well, so you can get a kind of idea of where our specific writers who cover their own teams feel their teams are going to go. And of course, while you're there, don't forget to click over on our 2021 NHL draft guide that Matthew was our spearheaded this year and did a really great job. All of our profiles are there. I know we have over 150. We shattered the record this year. They're still being published today. So if there's a player you wanted to learn about, there's a pretty good chance we got a really in-depth profile of him over at thehockeywriters.com. So check that out this week when you're researching. Hockeywriters.com needs to be your first place to go for draft research, and probably the only place you're going to go, because we got a lot of great stuff draft wise. Don't forget, if you're watching YouTube, Facebook, hit like and subscribe. Follow us on your favorite podcast outlet so you don't miss anything, because I think these next couple of weeks of all of our shows across the board are going to be can't miss programming. There's going to be a lot of, I think, people complaining this coming up week or two. Those are the best shows, I think, when people are upset. Those are the best ones. All right, we're going to wrap up our final pre-draft show, and I'm just going to go across the board, same order we went in, and I want you guys to tell me how you personally feel those first 5 picks are going to go. So, Peter, we're going to start with you. How does the top 5 shake down Friday night?
I'm thinking it's going to be a lot of mixing and matching right now. I know it's going to differ from my rankings, but Matthew Beniers is going to go first, Owen Power second, William Eklund third, Brandt Clarke fourth, and then Fabian Lysell fifth.
All right, there we go. Matthew, we got the top 5: Sabres, Kraken, Ducks, Devils, and Jackets. How do you see it shaking out?
So I got William Eklund going first overall to the Sabres, Owen Power to the Kraken, Matt Beniers to the Ducks, Luke Hughes to the New Jersey Devils, and Simon Edvinsson to the Columbus Blue Jackets.
All right, you are mixing it up a little bit there. I mean, Beniers or Power seem to be the guys a lot of people are picking first overall, but you have the Sabres going a different route. And to be honest, I don't think you can go wrong with any 3 of those players right there. All right, Forbes, no pressure. You're the last one. How's your top 5 shake out?
I'm going to go William Eklund, number 1 to Buffalo as well. I think Owen Power goes number 2 to the Kraken. I think number 3 is Matty Beniers. Number 4, Dylan Guenther. And I think number 5 for me is Mason McTavish going to the Columbus Blue Jackets.
All right. That's 3 unique, different opinions there. 2 votes for Eklund going first overall, and Beniers gets the 3rd nod. And that's exactly, I figured this exercise would pan out. I mean, it's so unpredictable this year. We don't have that generational elite talent. We don't have a Connor McDavid and Austin Matthews. That's the no-brainer number 1 pick. So usually in a draft, it's usually like pick 3 or 4 where the fun happens, where you get that question mark pick and it steers the draft into one direction or another. I think we're going to get that pick right off the bat. I think that first pick is going to affect the rest of the draft. So it's going to be fun to watch, see how Buffalo does it. A little bit of pressure there on Mr. Kevin Adams. If there's a franchise that needs to not screw this up, it's the Buffalo Sabres. So we shall see what happens. And that is going to wrap up our last pre-draft show. This has been a lot of fun these past few weeks talking your rankings. Personally, I know I speak for a lot of people, most of our readers. I want to thank Peter and Matthew and Andrew, not only for joining us having these shows, but all your great draft coverage you've been giving us for the past few months. You guys have been working really hard behind the scenes to put together your rankings and put together all of our coverage, and we all appreciate it. So thank you guys for all of that. And Be sure to follow us all on Twitter to stay up to date as the draft unfolds, and read all of our draft experts. I'm sure they're going to have a lot of analysis coming up these next few days. It's like Christmas for these guys, except, everybody gets a present. So stay tuned, the Hockey Riders. It's going to be a heck of a week. Make sure you got plenty of coffee and you're ready for some long hours these next few days. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you on another edition of a Hockey Writers show coming soon.